As we get started, we are recording, so the red light is on. This is a tool that we utilize called Mevo, and allows us to capture training. And a lot of times when I work for my clients, we give them the training in our LMS where they can go back and learn it. Because can anybody of us tell me what percent of training you actually retain in an hour training? 24 hours later.
10%.
Okay, 10? 5? Yeah, so definitely you're in that area. So it's around 17, less than 20%. You know. But a week later, guess what? So it's to the floor. So yeah, as we get started here, just a couple things here, a little bit about myself. I'm really just a country boy. I'm from Mississippi, Prentice, Mississippi. This is a picture of my son when he was 2. And he's at 20 now, so totally different kid, totally different kid. See, here he believed everything Dad said. Now, he has to verify, and then still doesn't believe it. But, you know, the one thing about it I tell people, and I was talking earlier, if you have kids, young kids, just remember this phrase. Your parents will always tell you the truth, but it's not gospel until life or the world has shown you. Okay? So just be okay with that. Continue to tell them the truth. You know, the other side of it is I'm an engineer by degree. So I have a unique journey. I actually majored in mechanical engineering, and my first senior semester, or my first senior year really, I decided I didn't want to be an engineer. So, you know, what a great time to say, hey, that's not what I want to be, you know. But it was literally sitting on my mom's couch. She asked me, she said, son, you should be a teacher. Why don't you change your major? I was like, Mom, you crazy. I got to go back another 2 or 3 years to school to get out of here and get a teacher's degree. But, as, you know, as fate would have it and life would have it, that's what I do now. But so I went straight into sales and marketing. And for me, that was a great thing because of the experience. First job I had was with DuPont Electronics, and literally had a chance to be over the Western region as a regional marketing manager. So basically I was going to support sales reps from Washington down to Arizona. So I lived on a plane. I mean, when you got on the plane and they knew your name,
Wow.
or when you were flying back east to DuPont and the stewardess said, are you going to see your girlfriend? You want a bottle of wine? Or hey, come on up, we'll upgrade you, we got the seats. You know you were flying too much. Or you gave away frequent flyer tickets because then they didn't have points for you younger people. You actually got coupons. Okay, things do change now. And so you would actually give those away for Christmas, you know, round trip tickets because you were tired of flying. You know, so those are things that you think about. And but then in the second job, I was closer to home here, got tired of California, moved to Houston, and I worked with a company called Nalco Chemical. I was in sales. So literally, when I look back at it, I didn't think about it going through the process, and a lot of times we don't. So as a trainer, one of the things I learned is that you have to sometimes hide the lesson in the process and then show the person what they've learned. So you can take them through things and they're consuming it, but if you don't help them understand why, then they may not garner it fully. So with that said, when I look back at it, each year, I averaged about 40 different industries that I was calling on. So, I mean, in the morning, I may be at the spam plant. You know, anybody ever had spam? Okay, well, let's try this one. In the afternoon, I'll be at the Budweiser plant. Anybody ever had a Budweiser? Okay, I thought so, a lot better. But then the next day, I may be at Imperial Sugar, and the next day, I may have to go up to East Texas, so I'm at a chicken plant, I'm at a plywood plant. But one of the things I learned is that throughout all these industries, no matter where you go and what you do, principles are few, processes are many. So even in training, there are a few core principles that are important. How you apply it, whether you at the credit union or whether you're at a hospital, whether you're at a chem plant, a lot of the same principles apply. The terminology, the process may just be different. Or if you're in Hollywood, Suzanne, you know, it's, yeah. I'm glad you graced us with your presence this afternoon. But so as you do that, you begin to think about it. And so one of the things, and I know we have some students here, is that, until you find your calling, and this is not something I planned to say, but I wanted to say this because I know we have some students here, add value where you are. Okay? And that's something that's real powerful, because I wound up being Salesman of the Year, and I hated it. I mean, literally, I was at Captiva Island, and I was like, I don't even want to be here. Captiva Island is a gorgeous place, and so that's when I decided to leave corporate America, and, now wound up opening a retail store, which we still have. So 22 years later, we actually have a brick and mortar retail store. Yeah, people can try stuff on before they buy. And but one of the things that was for me was because it's by Southern University. Every semester I had new students coming in. So now I have students coming in with their kids, which makes me old, but also it's a blessing because they talk about some of the things that they learned from me. They'll come sharing me stories of, man, I wanted you to shut up, but I'm glad you didn't. And so for me, that's a powerful piece. And so really 5 years ago, after people kept asking me to do trainings and teachings, I said, okay, Howard, let's go ahead and formalize this and maybe join John Maxwell or some program to where you can learn from one of the best. So that is how I got into training about 5 years ago, through that whole journey. But I wanted to share that, and you're going to be eating, so I want to pass something out. This is a tool I use. Feel free to utilize it. Let me just keep one so I can make sure I have it exactly. But it's called ACT. In any training that you're in, ask yourself, what am I going to apply out of all the things you learn? See, oftentimes you sit in trainings, but you never put it in action. You never put it in action. So I want to challenge you to ask yourself this is, out of what I hear today, what am I going to apply? And then the C stands for change. What am I going to change? Maybe in my team, maybe with myself. And then who am I going to teach? Who I'm going to share this with. Because that's one of the key things about it is that if you don't put it in action, I mean, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. You can have all the knowledge, it's like a dam, a reservoir with all that water. Until the water flow through the gates and turn the turbines, no light is ever generated. So I want to challenge you to, think about that as we get started here and move forward on the journey. Just real quick, give me a pulse here because I want to know, what do you want to learn today? Anyone? You saw the topic. Let me grab a pen. You saw the topic, decided to show up. What would you like as part of your outcome? Besides good food and good fellowship. Anyone?
Maybe how to make complex topics bite-sized.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe how to sustain the learning. So if we lose 17%, if we only keep 17% after the 24 hours, what are some little bite-sized things we can maybe do for sustainability?
Okay.
Of the content.
Also, how to incorporate that into different environments or different.
All right, so how to incorporate it into different environments. Okay, great. All right, 2 more. 1 more? No more? All right.
Oh, yes! No, we just hit her.
So maybe just some tools on how we can create those bite-sized learning.
Tools.
Yeah. So
Are you married?
Yes.
Does your husband buy tools?
Sure.
Do you use them all the time? Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna give you some tools that you can use.
Them, yeah.
Oh, you're the power girl. Okay. All right. And so one of the things I wanted to go into there, and one of my mentors in the training arena, he said, Howard, always know what your audience wants. Don't allow what you want to say get in the way of what they want to hear. And so as I go through what I've put together, hopefully I can help these outcomes happen, okay? And if not, then we can discuss further. Okay. So as we talk about here is what is bite-sized training? So, one of the things about bite-sized training is easy to consume. There's a difference between bite-sized training and regular training. Typically, if you had to put it together, less than 10 minutes, period, less than 10 minutes. Ideally, 5 to 7 minutes. See, in today's environment, every 12 seconds, our brain goes somewhere else. I mean, that's how stimulated we are. You know, so I'm okay if you text or do things and or look at stuff, because that's just the way we're wired. So now you have to give that training to people in a way that they can consume it and do it. Focus on one point at a time. So as we were talking about sustainability or breaking down complex, you take that complex thing, so whatever it is, who asked that question, complex? Give me an example, because I want to make this as... Hipaa. I said complex, okay, everybody wants to know.
Corporate compliance.
Either one, okay. So corporate compliance or HIPAA. So literally, as you outline that, and we'll go over it towards the end, but think about is, what are the points I want a person to learn? Okay, is it 10? Is it 5? I don't know what it is. Whatever it is that you want them to retain. Now, each one of those points become their own training. Okay, so each one of those points are going to be on their bite-sized training. And so you're going to just, in that training, you're going to focus just on that one thing. Just that one thing. Okay, that's what that is. And we're going to take someone and walk through with that. Next thing is you build on one desired outcome. So now, as we talk about the HIPAA example, point 1 and point 2 brings you up to point 3, but then it all ties back into the global desired outcome. All right? So if you would think is, you want to give a person a glass of water, not their daily dose. Just one glass of water, not the daily dose. So oftentimes you put a person in training, you want to give them the whole gallon. And they're sitting there waterlogged. Oh, what's happening there? So, you know, so you want to do that and build on that one outcome. And then here's something real powerful. How many are familiar with the golden rule? Anyone want to share it?
Do unto others as you have done unto them.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. I didn't know I was going to say. Mama, thank you. Now, how many are familiar with the platinum rule?
Treat others how they want to be treated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why you want to learn to meet the learners where they are. Yeah, it's actually called the platinum rule. See, she knew that one better, so she, hey, that's a good thing. But so as you think about that is, your learning has to meet people where they are. You know, one of the stories I share, when I got out of college, I think the time I was in Houston, so I was coaching youth baseball. So baseball is my passion. I mean, I grew up as a country boy. I can remember getting on the truck with my granddad on Sundays after church, and we would go down, and home runs were a quarter, and foul balls were home runs were $1. No, it was a quarter. Gosh, a snowball cost a quarter. But anyway, and the foul balls were a dime, and so you would chase them, you and other kids. But so as I think about that, I was coaching baseball, and me and another gentleman, and we were struggling with the kids that day. Anybody in here ever coached, by show of hands, coached any sports? You know, so some days are gooder than others, right? I did say gooder, okay? But so as we were struggling, and there was a guy sitting there, older guy, and I thought it was one of the kids' parents, you know, grandparents. And so we come off the field. He came over to her, just said, "Y'all had a rough time today, huh?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "How old is your young man?" I said, "They're, 9, 10. How old are you guys?" We're 28, 29. He said, "They've never been 28. He said, "Go back to when you were 10 and then take them where you want them to be." So that's the way we have to do as we're designing training programs. We have to look at what is the lowest common denominator in our group, in our class. So if you got a mixture of people, especially in an HR component, that have been there, and then new person, you've lost the new person from hello. You know, so you don't want to do that. You want to do the Jerry Maguire. Anybody watch Jerry Maguire? You had me at hello, okay? All right, so that's what you want to do, but you have to go back to where they are. So now as you think about that, why bite-sized learning? I'm going to go through this a little bit because I really want to spend time working through. You know, it fits our fast-paced environment. I mean, you can get bite-sized learning on your phone. You can get it on your car on the way in because it can be audio, you know, it can be audio versus video. As we said, it comes in small doses. You know, don't give them the whole pill bottle. One tablet at a time. It tells you that on the label. I mean, it does. You know, it doesn't help anymore. You know, one of the things I love about Zig Ziglar, to me, one of his most quoted quotes is about, you know, motivation. It's like a bath. You need it every day. You need it every day. And that is the way this training is. You know, because just think about the things that you heard a year ago, how much of it you still remember and are able to apply if you have not gone back and reinforced it. You know, provided over various platforms. I mean, we're going to talk about a couple of those. I mean, you can go from the free platforms to the paid platforms. You know, well protected to out there for anybody. So it's up to you on which one you want to do. And then, as we talked about earlier, the platinum rule, walking in the learner's shoes. So, who is this for? How many people do sales training in here? Just by a show of hands. Anyone? Responsible for training their sales team, okay? You may coordinate the training. I know we have a training group, so I know you guys do that at some of that. But what about other areas? Background? HR? Okay. Onboarding? All right. Any other areas? IT. Oh gosh. Safety. Okay. Yeah, IT. Oh gosh. Okay. Back to that. We'll get away from that. But as you think about it, you know, yeah, some of the benefits of it is, you know, it's a lot more effective. It's really the number that consistently coming up is between 15 to 25%, 17% more effective as you're going through it. The other side is it doubles the engagement because people know they're going to be there for a short moment, so they tend to focus more. You know, have you ever taken a webinar or got on a webinar that was over 30 minutes? What else did you do? All right. Check email. Anybody? Okay, so that's the point. But now you had a short 2-3 minute training, 5-minute training. You tend to stay there because you're like, I'm gonna miss something. I'm gonna have to go back and replay it, especially if you got a 1, 2, or 3 question quiz. Because now I'm forced to stay there versus find the other part of it. And so it really doubles the engagement if done right, okay? And it takes less time to create. I mean, you can really create, as you're talking about, what are one of the points you want your team to know about HIPAA?
Don't share protected health information with anyone who doesn't have a business need to know.
Okay? So, as of that, as you were outlining, and we can go over that a little bit, you can literally cell phone a video that trains a person on that. So, from what I hear with that, and my very limited knowledge of HIPAA, is one, the overall point, don't share it with. Now, you would identify who are the examples of the people that need to know. Now, anyone else fits in to don't need to know. So you would actually outline that, and you could say that and communicate that in a 3-minute video or 2-minute video. That would be an example of a bite-sized learning. Then you take that and follow it up with a short text. So a short document, 1-pager. And over time, that really becomes a program around HIPAA. So you're creating it as you go. All right. One thing about it is, and you can remember this, done beats perfect every day of the week, and twice on Sunday when it comes to bite-sized learning. Okay, because oftentimes we want to get the lighting exactly right. We want to bring in the professional crew, but most people are viewing it on their cell phone. The biggest place they're viewing it is on a monitor on a computer. So you don't need the 4K cameras. You know, you don't need the Hollywood studio, Suzanne. But I know you need it. But everyone else, you don't need it, okay? And so with that, you know, you can create it a lot quicker. The other thing is it costs less because you don't need all of those things. All right. So let's talk about where you can use it in a couple examples where we've helped clients use it. Traditional training, leadership, productivity, the soft skills training, great place. Taking 1 to 2 small points. So ideal. Anyone have done a half-day training around a soft skill? Okay. So now, what do you do to reinforce that? See, a great place to use bite-sized is to reinforce it. Taking each point and maybe giving it back to the person the following week. Here's the point. So here's the point on goal setting. Plan your week. Here are 3 steps to plan your week. One bite-sized training, one bite-sized video. Also, where it helps you at in a place like that is, guess what? Your managers can use it in a meeting. And so you can train your managers how to use training that you've paid for. So you bought this trainer in for a half a day, and people have lost 17, 15, they're down to 15% retention. Now you help your team learn how to utilize it better. Okay. Next thing is sales. So same way. Your sales teams go to trainings or off-site, or you bring in a trainer for them. Guess what? Reinforce it. Let the sales manager, you give the sales manager something to train on each day, so he's just not driving numbers. He's helping them develop skill sets to achieve the numbers. Onboarding. Here's an example. We're working with a client now. They were concerned about the culture. So they typically do a meeting with the CEO twice a year. So they meet with the CEO in June. Employee get hired, I say June the 10th. Employee gets hired June the 20th. It's a full 6 months before they hear from the CEO. So one of the things we're working with them is what we call culture moments, which are really bite-sized learning, 2 to 3 minutes of people living the culture that come from the CEO suite. So the first set of videos are going to be shot a little more formal, not necessarily highly professional, but a little more formal, but then we're teaching them how to use it on the cell phone. So as they see things, they put it out. And then the goal is to introduce it, to send it out. So the company sends out a newsletter every other week, and then in the off week, a culture moment will come out. So there'll be 26 touches throughout the year around fellow employees living one of the 5 principles that are part of their culture. The other way in onboarding, so a person hires with you, you give them a brief training to go through, bite-sized training with small quizzes. So now when they show up and sit down with you for an hour or 2 hours at first meeting, they're 1 or 2 steps ahead than that initial dose of water, that bucket of water that you're going to put on them on that onboarding process. Okay? So that's another way in which to utilize it. And then safety, as we talked about, client engagement. Yes?
Howard, using it in like the pre-work is kind of what you were talking about before
Correct.
the workshop. Do you find that they actually do the pre-work before, and then how do you, if somebody didn't do it, catch them up real quick in order to not delay the rest of the workshop?
So it depends on what type of workshop it's for. So if it's for onboarding, you require it. And you can, with the LMS systems, you can literally monitor whether or not they did. So you can go back and plug a person saying, hey, this training is 3 days from now, I need you to go through these. Because we're gonna be starting at the level behind that. Okay, so that's one. Like in my space, when I do things, sometimes I will give people rewards for going through it. And so if you got, say, 20 people that's supposed to go through it, you're 72 hours out and 2 people go through, you may have a reward and you announce it to everybody, hey, these folks did it. So it's, you don't beat them up with it. So you give the rewards and you go through it from that standpoint. So that's one way to do it. Mm-hmm. If you have any questions, I do have time at the end, but I like to talk about it as we go because it's fresh. You know, it's like your fish. You want to eat it while it's fresh. Yeah. It doesn't taste as good when you heat it up again. Right. Client engagement. So as you work with your sales team, as you work with your marketing team, you can literally use it to engage your client, educate them on your culture. One of my clients, I mean, they do this great experience. When a new client comes into their place the first time, they have about 400 employees. Everyone, they say, hey, welcome Howard White from Business Growth Dynamics. And every employee stops what they're doing and just claps, cheers, welcome. And somebody said, how can they do that when they have people on the phone? Well, the people on the phone are impressed too. Yes. Can I come down there? Yes, you can. And so the first time they come in, they get that experience and get that welcome. Or if a person comes in and they have a manager with them, a new manager coming with them, they'll do it again, welcome him as a first-time visitor. If you see him, tell him hi, and that's what they'll say. And so it's a great experience, but it's a way to do that culture. But just imagine having short pieces of your culture going out to your clients. What would that do? Okay. So those are some ways to look at doing that as we move forward. So a couple tools to implement, and as we talk about that, is some of the established platforms. These are some of the ones that I've used. Fresh Member, Teachable, which you probably see. Thinkific is another one. Them and Teachable almost parallel. Fresh Member, not as robust. Kajabi. If you're a coach or a trainer and you're doing things in the sales space, it works real well. Grow, Teach, and Learn is a WordPress plugin that we're just starting to experiment with, we've committed to. We're creating an online training academy for business learners as well as leaders. And so this allows us to actually put a widget on our clients' websites so the person can actually experience it inside the frame of the client's website. And so that is, but it allows us to do the testing, video, PDFs, offer certificates. So a lot of things to do it. They're working on a gamify. That's something you want to look at. How do I gamify? If you're familiar with that, it's really just how do you make it a game? As you're dealing with millennials and Gen Zers, the more you can gamify things, quick burst, the better off you are. And then some of the ways to use free tools. YouTube. Anybody ever use YouTube for training? Okay. How do you do that? Anyone want to share? Okay, I got you right when you got that fresh fish in the mouth.
If there's something I'm going to talk to you next, I'll sometimes play a video just to kind of get them thinking about the topic.
Okay.
Or you can just on the point. After I've covered the point, to bring home the point.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a unlisted account. Yeah.
A private
And
channel?
I'll put all my videos up there, whether it's like recording of a webinar or whatever. Link it on camera with our employees,
Okay.
like the Facebook for.
So what Heather said is you can actually, when you upload a video, you can make it private. And so it's private and unlisted. So the general public, you would have to have the link in order to go to it. Another thing with that is, Heather, I don't know if you ever used the transcription of your videos. YouTube transcribes almost every video.
I haven't played with it yet.
Okay, so under YouTube, if you go to the frame of YouTube, there are 3 dots under the video. Click that. When you open, you'll see Open Transcription. And then the transcription of that video will appear on the right-hand side over where all the other videos they want you to watch, right over there. And then it'll be timestamped. So like, if I upload this training, I can go back and look at the actual text of what was said. And so,
Fix it with your accent. Like if you have an accent, you can fix it because it doesn't always.
it doesn't always, it's not 100%. You're right.
I'm hard of hearing, so I watch things in closed captioning. So
Okay.
I'm very thankful that people do the transcriptions and that YouTube actually doesn't.
But the thing about it from a training and a bite-sized standpoint, now you're able to go pull the bullets out in text without spending a lot of time, and you can send the bullets of what was said as a worksheet or a follow-along guide to the video without having to hire an outside transcription service. So that is another way of using YouTube as one of those tools. Facebook, anyone use Facebook for training? So one way to do that is closed groups. You can actually, sometimes in corporate you don't want people there at all, so you don't start tempting them. But you can use closed groups, which allow you to post information. You can also, if you use certain webinar trainings, you can actually stream it into the group. So like with one of the trainings we do for college students, it's not as much for the students. Instead of trying to get them to go to LMS, we have a closed group. And so we let people into the group and they can go back and look at all the recordings. Okay, so that's one way of using or utilizing that. Just real simple, freeconferencecall.com, you can do that, and then have it transcribed to make your tools. Google Hangouts, and then Periscope the same way. It's not as popular with people as it used to be, but that is something that you can utilize too. All right, so as we transition into the next steps of really creating your own program. I know you're eating, and so I want to take someone that has a challenge in the time we have together, and if we can do two, that would be great. If you could take one of these and just pass it around. Let's go through the steps of actually creating your own bite-sized program. So what I like to do when I'm in an environment of lunch and learn or teaching is really work through live challenges. Number one, it helps me sharpen my saw. Number two, it gives you something to start working on immediately when you go back. Okay? And so as you think about it, as we said earlier, and I'm gonna take notes on who has a challenge that they want to work through. Right now, Michelle is lead person with Hipaa. Anyone else has anything more sexy than Hipaa? Okay. Oh, well, hey, we got you, Michelle. All right, so, as you ask that question, Michelle, and think about it, what do you want your target to learn? What? Huh?
It's in my business, what? Like you said, the gist was really not to share information with this outside group. And I find that when corporate compliance speaks.
Well, see, no, this is the global, and then I need to change this. This is your global learn. So as Hipaa as a whole, so you said outside information is one of them, but as a global, describe the objection of the whole piece.
Yeah, so knowing what is protected health information and kind of the legal parameters around disclosing it. That's the gist of it.
All right.
It gets deeper. That's the gist.
So this is Hipaa 101. And that could be the title of the series, Hipaa 101. And all right, so when you think about that, why is this important? Why is this important? Huh? Yes, well, we're working through. This is all right. So this is a hold on, stop. I should have said this. This is a lunch and learn, okay? All right. This is a work. We're working through.
When you called, I was like, "Is this for a thing?"
Legally, patient safety, like confidentiality.
Okay, repeat that.
Confidentiality, legal reasons, patient safety.
Don't have to have conversation with attorneys.
Yeah, it's right.
I like the gel one.
The gel, that gel one is
Yeah,
important.
You would want the same thing to happen.
Right.
The platinum rule.
Platinum.
All right. And so hopefully you see how when you're sitting with your team or if you're sitting with yourself, thinking through this question allows you and give you some things to say, okay, hey, here's what I'm going to make sure we achieve these things. Because as you're doing the training, you have to make sure that you achieve those outcomes. All right? And then now, what resources will you utilize for this? And when I say resources, it could be physical resources such as recordings. It could be people. You know, who's your Hipaa expert? Michelle?
The chief compliance officer.
Okay. So, one way to do that is you may go in with a camera and you have 20 questions that you're going to ask him, but he can only answer one question at a time. And he has to stay under 5 minutes. And so with that said, now you have 20 videos that you have for your program.
That's a good idea. It beats 50 million slides. With all the small font and all the words, every law on it. It's like, no one's retaining that.
Right. They don't need to know it.
No.
Once again, your target audience, what do they need to know?
Right.
And so part of, as a training professional in a large organization, you have to reel sometimes people back in because he's thinking as an attorney. So he's going to throw up on people. I mean, stature, and that's what people are, clean up on aisle 9. But as you think about it, you have to reel them back in and say, okay, I have a doctor that's coming on. The doctor needs to know all of this. And at the end of the day, someone said, one, keep you out of jail. It's the right thing to do. Not in court. Doctors understand that. That's why my malpractice is so high, okay? But, so you put it back into that language, walking in another person's shoes. And so as that designer of the program, sometimes you have to go and do that for people because they get caught up in their own profession. Attorneys, engineers, accountants, you ever been in a meeting and somebody just started throwing out the ABCs, all those the jargon, and you sitting there like, what did they just say? If you ever want to break them, is every time they say a jargon, ask them, what does that mean? What does that mean? And after about the third time, they're going to start telling you, and they'll become conscious of it. Because unless they're talking to the same people, and we are as training professionals, sometimes we'll say things ourselves. So as you think about that for yourself, what resources will you use? People, the tools. So now as you're laying this out, it makes it easy. Because you're going back to the chief compliance officer, 25-minute videos can be done in less than 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Because he knows it, or she knows it. And so, but you have to coach them through it and have it mapped out for them. And then, as we said, is, what are those chunks or bytes of information that are critical? So helping them outline it. So one of the things that if I was working with you on the chief compliance officer, I would just say, okay, let's sit down and literally outline what you want them to be ready to go through. And so one of the questionnaires you would send to him or her would be is, list the top 20 things that you would want to share with anyone, or ask them the top 10. And then they give you 10, and you can go back and say, okay, now what are 10 others that they should know? All right, so we're gonna come in and video you 3 to 5 minutes on that. Target is 4 minutes each, max. So if they go over a little bit, they're not way out in left field. If they go under, nobody's ever got upset for the video being too short. Nobody. I mean, has anybody ever complained about getting out of a meeting early? I mean, gosh, I'm tired of him, man. He has those 15-minute meetings, those 10-minute meetings. Gosh, I'm never going there again. It's normally the other way around, okay? And so as you think about that, that is something that you want to do. And then you know, the last step as you look at it is asking yourself, how do you want to capture, catalog, and communicate? So the 3 C's, capture, catalog, so you're not repeating and redoing it in the future. And that's the beautiful thing about technology and bite-sized learning is that you literally can do it once and just rinse it and just make it gooder and gooder and gooder and better, you know, I mean, just, and that is, you know, the beautiful part about it. But the information is still good because principles are few, processes are many. You know, laws do change a little bit, but, you know, you may have to go back and do it, but you still got the process and it makes it easy. And then to build on that is you just ask yourself, where, when, and who. Where will you distribute it? When will you distribute it? And who will you distribute it to? And so now you're building out your calendar, you're building out your schedule of how people will consume the information. You know, how will that happen? All right, so how are we on time? Like I said, my goal is, my mom always told me, if you leave early, nobody get upset. So. Yes?
If you were to schedule it out, I don't know all the functionality that they have for all the different platforms, but you know how like with Tweets, you can do like Hootsuite and you
Yes.
can go in and you can schedule, like I wanna do all of this, you know, in different increments and days. Is there any?
No, great question. So as you think about scheduling on an LMS, most of the LMS have what they call drip campaigns. So you can drip the content. So we'll take the 20 Hipaa. And so if I wanted to go every 4 days, or if I wanted to go every Monday, so from when a person first goes in, it's released to them at that time frame. And then some of them will actually email them when new technology or new video or new content is available. And so you can program it out like you want to. Or you can set it to where they can consume it as fast as they want to. And so sometimes when you do the drip piece is that if people are coming in at different times, they may be at different places. And so they are going at their own pace.
Can you talk a little bit more about the time that it takes to develop something like this? I know that you mentioned before it's about the third of a time for a single course and that you can do, you know, 2 hours worth of material.
Okay.
But can you talk about the time that it usually takes? Do you edit? Do you do any of those other?
I don't do a lot of editing.
Okay.
And what about the outlining beforehand to do the videos?
Actually, that's really where a lot of the work is. A lot of the work is really planning it properly and going through it with, you know, with clients and for myself even on content that we do the first time. So like if I showed you the academy that we're putting together, I mean, I got this big spreadsheet so I know here's the title, here's what it is, here's the problem that it solves, and then here's all the available content. Video, worksheet, ebook, boom, boom, boom. So now, and then here's the scheduled release date. So I can go through and do that. Do I already have the videos or do I need to purchase videos around it? Like we do some Microsoft stuff, which I don't do, so I have to purchase those videos. So it gives you a full schedule. So it's really, first thing is really mapping out what are the desired outcomes. So if I was sitting down with, you know, you, which company are you?
I'm at LSU.
Okay. So you may look at a department and say, here are the challenges we're having. Here's what we want to put into a bite-sized program. And typically universities are on semester basis. So hey, here's what I want a person to achieve during this semester. And so you would literally pull out a calendar and then write down, here's when I want lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at the most. Boom. And then you begin to work backwards from that standpoint. Okay? Does that help?
Yeah, it is.
All right. Any other questions on that? So, but as we think about that, you know, is really beginning with the end in mind. What desired outcome do you want the person to have? And so as we put out questions anymore, you know, yes.
In industries like manufacturing or oil and gas, that the older baby boomers might be a little less adept at the technology. How do you kind of make sure that there is the same retention between those older baby boomers who are still in the workplace versus the younger millennials who are very, obviously digital
Right.
natives.
So bite-sized learning is not just digital or technology-based. So like literally, and one of the reasons we're talking about transcription services, you can give them reports, make it easy. You know, oftentimes you have briefing meetings in those industries at the beginning of a shift. So if I got a 5 or 7 minute training, is my managers will be able to pull it up on a TV, which is connected to a computer, and actually, let's go through this real quick. We've got 10 minutes, okay? The video's 5. We've got 2 to 3 minutes for discussion, another 2 minutes for lies, and then, okay, guys, let's go out here and do some work, okay? And that is one way of doing it. And then if you have it as a report or document, then you can send it to them as part of their email. Hey, here's what you saw. Here's just a summary of what you saw in the video, and here are the 3 points you don't want to forget. So it's really meeting people where they are, and oftentimes I say, you know, once you go through it, the answer is not A, B, or C, it's D, all the above. If you can really incorporate that, because now you know, everyone has different learning styles. Everyone likes to receive information in different ways, so if you can give them options on how to consume it, it helps them retain it a lot better. Okay? And then, you know, it's funny how us older folks adapt to this new technology if it excites us. Because when I get those texts from my mom, I'm like, oh gosh, what's happening here? Yes.
Is there anything that you did beforehand to kind of ready the organization for this type of learning? Because I know that for us, most of our ATDs are used to like the 1 hour, 2 hour, full day workshops. Is there anything that you did to kind of ready them for the kind of smaller bite-sized pieces?
Well, you know, you can still do the full workshop.
Reinforced.
This is reinforcement number 1. And if you started polling people, they may rather have this if it's put together versus the full day. Or, okay, let's not do a full day, let's do a half a day, and then let's reinforce it, or let's do a half a day more frequent versus a full day once a semester. If you stand with the semester, let's do 2 half days. You know, give an example of a client, they wanted to do some management training and help their team. And so they wanted me to come in and do a full workshop. And I'm like, okay, first of all, how high pace yours? If we get your people for 90 minutes, I'm doing good, okay? And so we started out at 90 minutes and found out, okay, no, we need to cut back to an hour, but we do it every 2 weeks. So a couple things happen out of that, because it's inter-departments, various departments are coming in to meet. And one of my objectives is we build it around a book. So they have, it gives them homework easy. But the second part of that is I teach things around the book, not the book. And so the other objective, as I sat down with the client, was, okay, want them to be talking through different departments. So now you have managers that didn't used to talk are going to each other saying, hey, what about this? Can you help me solve this challenge I'm having in my department? And then how does it tie into the company vision? And so it allows us to continuously reinforce that. And then we capture those sessions and they can go back and listen to them from an LMS standpoint. Okay? So that is, the key thing is the planning side of it. I mean, it can be impromptu, but even impromptu, a lot of times is really thought out. You know, that is something you know, when you see a person doing a video from the stage, they thought that thing through before they got there. It looked impromptu. Just they saw the right face and said, hey, you mind if we do a selfie here? And, but that's what it really is, and as you go through that. And then, you know, any thoughts on that? We love thoughts and feedback, because that's one of the things that I like to grow and get gooder at.
So I had a thought, that what you said about, you know, just do it, done is better than perfect. I sometimes.
Oh, finish it off now. Every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
All right, okay, all of those, but one of the things that I struggle with is I want the video to be awesome, so I, you know, take it with the best camera, and then what I end up doing is dumbing it down because I have to get the size right, because the LMS is gonna spit it out, or, you know,
Yes.
so there's all this other stuff that I
Mhm.
have to do extra, and then I don't wanna ever do it anymore.
Right.
So yeah, so the bite-sized learning, it just makes sense to, and just do it with whatever you have, and then kind of add on with some of the other extra pieces, like you were saying and sharing, so I like that, I like that.
Now, I'll give you an example. I had a program that I wanted to create for myself, and it wound up being 27 videos. We shot it in 3 hours one afternoon. Outline, and so literally, here's the problem we're solving, here's the story that we're gonna share, one or two stories. Here are the 3 points we're gonna make. Here's the next step. And the person that shot it for me, we used a webcam. They were in DC, I was sitting at my desk, and literally, they said, okay, Howard, go. Leave enough blank so we can put the footer, the trailer and the intro in. All right, Howard, you ready? Good. Record, boom. And literally, we shot half of them, took a break, 5 minutes, came back and shot the rest. But you had the content there, and so as you look at the people that you're gonna get content from in your group, in your organization, they already know it.
Yeah, they don't need to write it down.
They don't need to write it down, but you need to outline it so they're not rambling.
Yeah.
And so, that is the key part of the planning part of it, yes. All right, and if anytime you wanna reach out to me, just reach out to me directly, we'll be glad to do it. We set aside a couple times a month to do lunch and learn, so we'll come in and work with your team from a lunch and learn standpoint. Or if you have a challenge you want, just call me directly, okay? All right, thanks a lot, everybody.
On behalf of Baton Rouge ATD, we want to give
Gifts, goodies, oh man! We all love
Thank you
this.
very much.
Thank you, Vicky.
Really
Appreciate it. And guys, I apologize. I will not be at the conference. I got a training in Houston. I'm gonna be there Wednesday night, but Thursday for noon, I got to be in Houston for a training. So, yes. Next time I'll block it off.
Yeah, you
All right. Gotcha. All right, we'll back out. All right now.